it's Lori from Lori's Little Bit of Craftin'. Pardon my reach there. I am coming to you at 11:15 on Thursday, July 3rd. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, more specifically in Wisconsin. I'm trying to get my other device set up. It didn't pop up. There we go. It didn't pop out automatically, so I like to see if anybody joins me. It's always fun to have people here live, but I know I'm kind of at an odd time for the United States. It's kind of late. Most people are probably going to bed already. I, however, am a bit of a night owl, much to the dismay of my husband, who would rather go to bed a little earlier than me. So, first things first, I'm just going to do a quickie announcement. Don't forget about our memory keeping. I love these little hands. Our memory keeping options at Stampin' Up! We're having a virtual album retreat. It's going to be 3 days, about 8 hours a day, July 16th, 17th, and 18th. If anybody's local to me and wants to do a live watch party, basically, I will see about getting that scheduled. If you haven't gotten your kit yet, you're going to want to order that so that you have it before this date. It's getting kind of tight now, so if there are people that still order the kit, you'll have access to the online platform. It's a private group on Facebook initially. They're going to copy that onto YouTube, but you'll have access to that, and I'll probably do an after the live watch party as well. So enough of that. If you're interested, let me know and I can get you more information. So this is a card I cased a number of years ago, and I don't remember who did it. I don't remember if it was at a swap or if I saw it online. I just don't remember, but I've said before I like things that are nautical. So I'm going to give this a little bit of update using some more current products. And all right, this is what I came up with. So I've been working kind of quickly to try to get this done. We were out in the yard today doing a bunch of stuff, getting our new chicken condo stuff set up. So I wanted to have a sample so you could see what the newer products look like compared to an old one and where I got my inspiration. So, you know, this was definitely not a 4th of July card, but I thought since it's our holiday tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and do a 4th of July card in the red, white, and blue that's part of our flag. So this is what we're shooting for. Hopefully ours will be a little neater. But what I've got going here is thick basic white cardstock, 8.5 by 5.5. Scored at 4 1/4. If you've been with me before, you know that I like to do 2 card bases at the same time. So I will score once the whole length or width of the paper, depending on what layout I'm going to have. And then I will cut once. That way I have 2 card bases all at once, which is what I did here. Okay, so we've got our base. And then I have another layer. And this is 3 3/4 by 5. All right, and I want to have that so that you can see the border, even though it's just basically a white on white. I like the look of that, but I still want to see enough of that frame. So what I want to do here, and I don't know if you can see it, but I have roughed up the edges on this layer. So it gives some texture. It doesn't just look like a plain old straight line. And that way too, if you've got a cutting blade that maybe isn't brand new sharp and you get some rough edges, this is a good way to camouflage that. But I like how it looks. And you can see that my edges are very nicely cut by my trimmer. So it's not like I need to camouflage any of the edges that didn't cut clean. I just like how it looks. I like texture very much. All right, so I wrinkled it just a little bit, but it will be fine. All right, we'll get rid of that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp these little stars. Now those stars have come from the School Days stamp set. That little set of stars there. I thought they were cute and that they would make a nice addition to this card. So I'm just using Night of Navy and Real Red. All right, pretty basic red, white, and blue-ish for the United States. So let's just go ahead and stamp that over there. And I'm going to turn my stamp so my stars are in a little different place, and we're going to put that right about there. Okay? And I can be done with that. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put these pieces on. Now these are 3/4 of an inch, so you can see 3/4 of an inch, and then 1, 2, 3 inches. I thought is what I had these measured. 3 1/4. So 1, 2, 3 1/4. So those are just going to go like so. Okay. And they don't have to be measured or anything. I just kind of put them on randomly so that they're all at different levels. It just gives some dimension to the images on the front. It's a nice backdrop. And you could make them more narrow or shorter or longer to suit your preferences. But that's how I like it. So let's just scooch this over a little bit more so we're straight. I think that should be good. So in the United States, tomorrow is our 4th of July celebration. Our country is 249 years old. And we will probably be going to a cookout later in the day with family. There's a bunch of family in from out of town, and they'll be going home on Monday, so this will be the last few days to get together with them. So it's kind of nice that our holiday is landing on a Friday. For those people who work, they've got that extra day then because they'll get it as a holiday from work. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put some dimensionals on the back of here. And let's just see, I cut around the edges of my dimensional sheet already because I'm almost out of them on this one. I probably wouldn't have to put that many pieces on here, but let's do that one. All right, so that's all ready. I just like to use every last bit of dimensionals. So that's going to go there. Now, kind of a fun feature here is I'm going to do a little bit of paper piecing, I guess, maybe is what we call it. But I have, these are 1 1/4 by 3. That's where I got the 3 inches. So this is 3 inches wide, and this is 3 3/4 inches wide. So I'm going to go red, white, and blue. And I'm making this sailboat so that it's all basically one image, but with the stripes. I figured if I waited to do this until tomorrow night, the whole holiday is over. So I thought I was going to do a different card tonight, but I figured I felt inspired to do this one today so that I don't actually miss the holiday while recognizing it. So when I put this on, I'll just go ahead and push it up snug against that first one so that I don't have a gap between those colors. And we will then die cut it. And the outline from that die cut, I think on my sample, I thought it looked pretty cool. And I think that's something that I'll hang on to and do for another card just because I think it looks kind of fun. Could make a shaker card out of that, I suppose. All right. So there's that. And I'm going to use the one die from the Sunrise Sailing. So this is a bundle. So this has a bunch of dies. There's 2 other dies here that you can't see, but they give the waves for a card. This is a 3D hybrid, or it's rather a hybrid embossing folder. So it can emboss and cut out that sailboat all in one swipe. And then these are the stamps. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's stamp this before I put it through the cut and emboss machine. What I did on this one was I cut it out first, and I thought, oh, that looks a little plain. And then I decided to stamp on it, and then it's harder to line things up. And I stamped off so it wasn't quite as bold, but I think this one I'll leave fully inked because I think maybe it'll look better. We'll see. Okay, and I'm going to get my piercing mat. Since I'm using a photopolymer stamp, that'll probably help. And then when I put my stamps on my block, I don't put it so that I'm tempted to use the straight edge of the block as my guide. I look at the stamp and I ignore the edges of the block. So I put it on crooked so that I'm not watching this. And I find that it's easier for me to make a straight image or to line it up straight if I put it crooked on my block. So that works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. A lot of the people that stamp with me, it kind of throws them off. So I like that pretty well there. All right, so we're done with that one. And I'm going to close up my ink for right now so I don't get inky. And now we're going to go ahead and cut this out. All right, so let me get my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, my little Betsy. And we just need our base plate, a cutting plate. We'll line this up, and I'll use just a little bit of washi tape to get this situated so it doesn't shift. Nothing worse than having a really nice image on there and then having it shift when you cut it out so it doesn't look nice. So that should be good. All right, and then I have my top plate, and I like to put a label on my top plate so that when I have people over for classes, this one doesn't get all cut and I can see through it a little bit better. It still gets some wear and tear, but that way when the bottom plate that gets cut on gets worn, then I'm only replacing one plate at a time, because then I'll shift this one and make that the bottom, and then I'll make the brand new one plate the top. And then I offset my plates. And I'll show you that when I pop these out. So when I do my plates, I usually have the first cutting plate in a bit and then the top cutting plate back up, so that when it feeds through the machine, there's not the thickness of 3. Hello, Nicole from Western Australia. Welcome back. You've been here before with me. Thanks for stopping in. So it is a holiday for the United States tomorrow. So we've got our 4th of July. So I'm making a card in honor of the 4th of July, our Independence Day. And if you just popped in, this is a card that I had cased some time ago. And this is what I'm recreating with the inspiration from that card. So we just put some cardstock together. And we're making our little sailboat. And I am going to keep the void section from my card. If I can get all my washi tape off. That's some really sticky washi tape today. And I'm going to hang on to that because I think that would make a fun shaker card. So now I've got 2 of those. So we'll see what we do. All right, so this is ready to go on my card. So this is going to go here-ish, actually like this-ish. And then we're going to make this happy 4th. And what I did there was, you should be able to see it. I've got red on the top and blue on the bottom for the happy and the 4th part. And all I did with that was take my red marker, not an alcohol blends, but a regular Stampin' Write marker, and add my color just part way up on this. There we go. And then I'll take the Night of Navy and do it on the bottom. And then I am just going to put a little bit of hot air on this so that I can make sure that ink is nice and damp. Yeah, I think this stamp set is really cool for a 4th of July. When I think of 4th of July, nautical things kind of come to mind, and I really like nautically themed items anyway. So I'd have to go look and see what the name of this set was too, but I loved that set. And that's from several years ago. So there's that part. And then let's do the happy, and I'm doing the happy the same way. And I will always do, when I'm thinking, I will always do my lighter color first so that I'm not picking up any of the dark color on my light marker. Now I could try to take my ink pad and just tap my ink pad on here too, but sometimes that's a little more challenging for me to get it lined up. All right. And then I have some over ink, so that might or might not work. So we'll give it a try. I can always do it over if it doesn't work really well. So we'll give it a whirl. That might be okay. I'm just going to add a little bit of hot air to that one as well. And I could have pulled out my Pearson mat since I'm using a photopolymer stamp, but I'm just going to hold this on here so the ink can soak into that paper a little bit. That looks really nice. So that looks better than this one. I didn't get the marker as dark as this one, and this with the ink did work really well. So, happy day. And then we'll just snip this down. I think I should be able to cut pretty straight, hopefully. That turned out pretty good. And we'll do that there. So I put this up on dimensionals on my sample. So we're going to do the same thing again here. And let's just, yeah, we can put the whole thing on dimensionals. That'll work. And then, so this will go here. I didn't take the backing off yet, and my boat isn't, my sailboat's not on there yet either, because we're just kind of laying this out. So I think because that boat is thick, I want to put a smaller dimensional on here. So that I can just glue, put a dimensional. I guess I won't even really need another dimensional there. I'll just put glue on that side. And then this is just going to be glued straight down. And what we'll do then is these are from the birthday celebration bundle. Let's see where, here. So the birthday celebration, that's where I got the happy and the TH and the 4. So these dies are really fun. I made a different card using the little banner here. So I did this probably several months ago. But that's what I'm using for these sentiments. And then the die for here. So what I want to do is glue these together. And let me get my silicone mat so I don't get more glue on my glass mat, because I seem to get a lot of glue on there from time to time. All right. And I could have used adhesive sheets, and that probably would have been smart of me, but I didn't. So when I'm putting these together, I'm offsetting them a little bit. Hopefully you can see that. I'm offsetting them so that they're creating kind of a shadow as we stack them. And then they're just going to be thicker and a little bit more sturdy on my card as well. So when I have dies that are kind of small like this, narrow, if I'm not going to be affixing them to my item with just glue, if I'm going to be having them raised up at all, I like to stack them. All right. So there's my red, white, and blue 4. And I did get a little bit of glue on my silicone mat, so that's a good thing I grabbed that out. All right, so there's those. Let's get this out of the way. Let's go ahead and stick this down. So Nicole, I roughed up the edges with my snips just to give it a little bit more texture. A lot of times I will use my take your pick tool because then I can just kind of stab these and they come off pretty good. But I didn't pull that out just right. Right now I didn't pull it out. My fingernails seem to be working all right today. All right, so that's there. Let's just put a little glue on our boat. This is coming together pretty quickly. I did try to get some of this stuff prepped ahead of time without doing some of the things that I wanted to explain as I went, like this paper piecing part. Nicole, were you online when I did that part? I don't remember when you popped on. But basically these were 3 strips of paper that I had 1 1/4 by 3 1/4. I stuck them onto a white piece of cardstock so that they're really butted up close together, and then I stamped it and then ran it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, my mini one. You could also run it through the embossing folder to give it some extra texture. So let's put that there. But I didn't really feel that I needed the extra texture. I think I've got quite a bit going on actually. Now with this 4th, what I did was I used my adhesive strips to raise it up a little bit. So there'll just be a dot of glue there, and then I'll put maybe a strip across the middle. These aren't just for shaker cards. I like to use them anytime I have narrow sections on pieces, because they're flexible enough, and if you put a little snip in it, it'll make it a curve a little easier without rippling. So let's put a little bit of glue on the top of the 4th, or the number 4 rather, so it can stick to that happy. And I think I want to move this over a little bit. There. This little line from the stamp was coming up right in the center of the 4, and I kind of didn't like that. So there we go with that. And then this, I'm just going to glue right onto the card. So you use the thin adhesive foam strips for turnabout cards and reveal wheel cards. What is a turnabout card? Is that like a never-ending card, or I'm not sure that I know what that is. I'm going to trim this a little tighter, I think. The foam, then those adhesive strips come in handy quite a bit. There we go. All right, so there's our card. Now, I think what I would like to do is jazz it up just a little bit. I have some of these. Let me get an alcohol blends. And I'm gonna do dark real red and hope it doesn't look too pink. I think I'm gonna put those in the stars because I think they just need, excuse me, I think they just need a little bit of glitz. So make sure you use alcohol markers for that. You don't want to just use a regular marker because it'll rub off. And I need my take your pick tool now. And a little bit of water for my dry throat. All right, so let's go ahead and put those on there. My putty got really globbed onto the outside of my point on here. One of my classes, I have some newer stampers and they're not always real sure about how to use the tools even when explained. So there's 4. I'm going to do 5, 6, and I'm going to color one more. I'm going to do 7. I will typically use an odd number of embellishments just for the eye appeal, basically, and having it kind of balanced. All right, so let me get that out of the way. Here was my prototype. Here is the finished product. I really like it with the gems. What do you think? Can you see those shimmer, I hope? And then here was the inspiration from a few years ago. So maybe this will inspire you to do something to update it for either a color scheme you like or a holiday that you have, or just some papers you want to use. If you've got some scraps, this is great for scraps. This one is just a 1/2 inch by 3 inches. I did 3/4 by 3 inches, so you can vary it up. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate the compliment. And I appreciate the well wishes for our holiday. We're kind of excited here for our 250th is going to be next year, so there should be some big celebrations for that. But happy 4th of July for those of you in the United States. For those that are in Canada, I think you had Canada Day on the 1st. I don't know, what does Australia have? Any kind of holiday that's not like a holy holiday? I'm not familiar with what you have in Australia, Nicole. So you have Australia Day, January 26th. Okay, very good. I will probably not remember that, but I will try to keep it in mind. So happy belated Australia Day to you, since I missed it in January. All right, so thanks for popping in. I know there's quite a few people here watching. Feel free to Pop in and leave comments anytime. I welcome that. I'd also appreciate if you like my video. Share it with your friends who might enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And come back and join me. I'm usually on sometime around 11 to 11:30 p.m. Central Time here in the United States. I don't have a strict time, which I know throws some people off, but that's kind of my life. So I'm usually kind of late night Lori. So thanks for popping in again. Hope you enjoyed the cards. Until next time, happy crafting.